Let's wait for a couple of minutes for Osama and Rob to join.
Oh, so we're on live right now?
Yes.
I can DJ for us. I could play music for the crowd while we're waiting. It's up to you. Oh, they ruined it. Here they are.
Yeah. Just 1 second. So yeah, I think we now have Rob and Osama. So let's start. Can you hear me well?
He looks frozen. He looks like he's very cold.
Yeah. So I think you're mute, Rob. Okay. So thank you so much for joining us today. Good evening, everyone, and we are so happy to be here today. My name is Mohab Hamdi, and I'm the founder of Finance Coach. Today's webinar is quite special for us because 8 years ago, we started Finance Coach with one mission. It was ambitious but simple. It's to spread awareness about financial certificates and have everyone supported in their journey. Now we have Osama as well.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Rob. Hi, Peter. Hi, Mohab.
Hi. And today, after 8 years, we're quite honored and blessed and with full pleasure to have global experts like Mr. Rob from CFA Institute, Chief Product Advocate for CFA, where he's going to share more insights about CFA program. And of course, the legend himself, Peter Alento, one of the most well-known and respected instructors from UWorld. Let's go. And Osama Sami, senior finance expert and finance professor at Inshams University, who's the CFA charter holder, CPA, CME, and many certificates. So yeah, Rob, can you please start with short introductions, then we can move to Peter and Osama?
Rob is shy, I think. I think Rob is shy.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think we can start with you now, with Peter, and then move forward.
First of all, did you see the size of that watch he has on? That's the biggest watch I've ever seen in my life, and it looks all gold.
Yeah, Osama has
I'm saving for my first watch.
Yeah, it is in fact, and I want to declare something from the very beginning. You don't know that, but you are my role model, and you are my instructor in CFA and CPA.
And you passed the exam anyway? That's incredible. You must be a genius.
No, I'm.
Well, thank you so much.
No, Peter, I am in fact one of your millions of students.
Well, congratulations on all of your success. I'm glad I got to help you. And collectively, we're going to help everyone on this call become CFA charter holders and pass all 3 levels on the first attempt. Again, my name is Peter Olinto. I am the global lead instructor for UWorld, teaching CFA, CPA, CMA. So very excited to be here. So thank you for the invite. And I'm going to do my best in just a little bit to give you some advice on how to properly prepare for the exam.
Thank you so much, Peter.
I'm
Rob, can you please go ahead?
Sure of that.
You want me to proceed, Mohab?
Yeah, please. Can you please go?
Oh, perfect. Yes. So thank you for the invite. It's a real honor and a privilege to be here in Cairo. Where I'm spending a couple of days and being here with Finance Coach, talking about the CFA program here in Egypt. And happy to share some remarks about that. If you wish, do you want me just to share my remarks, my comments on the CFA program here in Egypt? Is that what I'll talk about? Okay. Let me just share my screen quickly. I've got some statistics, which I think everybody's going to find quite interesting. So if I just share my screen here, I'll bring up some data which shows us a little bit more about the CFA program here in Egypt. So if I share my window. Here we go. If I share trying to share my whole screen here.
Now, while he's sharing his screen, I just want you to know Rob is actually building your confidence right now, because you're like, this guy can't even share his screen, yet he's a CFA charter holder. So if Rob passed the exam,
you guys see it?
Scores.
Yeah. Okay. Just stop sharing. I'm trying to share my PowerPoint here a little bit. Bear with me real quick. I'll be with you in a second, but I'll start. I can go without the. I'm unable to share my PowerPoint for some reason, so I'll talk without. Oh, there, I can do it. I've solved it. I'm going to impress Peter. Peter, can you see my screen?
Not yet. Can we, Moab? I can't see it.
Can anybody see it?
No.
The blue? No? Yes? No?
Now we can
Now I see it. Yes. Now I see it. Go on, Rob. Go on.
Perfect. Let's talk about the CFA program then, the Middle East and Africa. So we have 204,000 CFA charter holders globally. And we're going to zoom in now on the Middle East, and then we'll zoom in on Egypt. So we've got very strong growth across the whole Middle East region as the economies are developing and there's capacity building happening across all the nations. The UAE holders in the region with about 2,000. Saudi Arabia closing in on 1,000. Egypt is actually number 4 in the region behind Bahrain. So there's been some really nice growth. This has been driven by various factors, but mostly by economic development. And if we look at where people work who have the CFA charter across the MENA region, I'm not sure you can see my slide now, but I'll talk through it. Here in Egypt, the number 1 employer of CFA charter holders is the Central Bank of Egypt, but it's quite common to have the central banks being the main employer of charter holders in the MENA region. We also see them rising high in other markets as well. You also see sovereign wealth funds across the region, obviously ADIA, Mubadala, Public Investment Fund in Saudi. But here in Egypt, there's many commercial banks where you see heavy adoption, along with the accounting firms and, of course, World Bank as well being a big employer. So really some of the most prestigious employers in finance are the people who actually hire CFA charter holders. When we look across Africa, Cairo is one of 26 exam cities in the continent across 22 countries where we operate. And when we look at the numbers across the whole continent of Africa, all 54 countries, Egypt is number 3 in terms of the number of people who start the CFA program every year, with over 500 people per year starting the program. That is 3rd behind South Africa and Nigeria. So it's a very popular thing to do here in the continent. Let me talk briefly about the CFA program, the kind of career opportunities you might get, and then I'll talk briefly about scholarships. So one thing I always like to show to people is the different job opportunities you get as a CFA charter holder. And here's the way we think about institutional finance broken out into 4 quadrants. We think about the buy side, that's people who invest money on behalf of others. We think about the sell side, that's people who might do buy and sell recommendations on NVIDIA, for instance. We have corporations, both the people who run corporations, investor relations, CFO, CEO, along with private equity owners of corporations. And then finally, advisory. That would be firms like Goldman Sachs, firms like the big 4 accounting firms. And if you can see this slide, the yellow bubbles are proportional to the number of CFA charter holders. And the key message is that CFA charter holders do over 50 different discrete job roles on our accounting. So when you think about it, when you think about other finance credentials, they tend to focus in on one job role. Often the title of the credential will be the hint in terms of the job role it's training you for. CFA program is not like that. While it's true that we train financial analysts, I was an equity research analyst many moons ago in London. It's also true that when you look across the universe of what the charter holders do, they do dozens of different job roles. So what this means to you is that your career optionality is quite high when you go through the CFA program. And the reason for that, quite simply, I think about it like a fusion between a bachelor's and a master's in finance, basically, meaning it's foundational, your start of your career, and we have people in lots of different job roles who've been through the program. It's not a single job role credential. I'll talk briefly about scholarships, because I know that's a hot topic, a topic of great interest in many countries around the world, including Egypt. We offer various different scholarship types. You can Google CFA Institute scholarships to see the different categories. I think the 2 main ones to talk about with this audience are perhaps the Access Scholarship, where for each of the 4 exam windows per year, you can apply for an Access Scholarship based on financial need. And then you need to document your need and talk about why you're deserving of a scholarship. And then we make decisions every quarter linked to every window. If unfortunately you don't get it in one window, you can apply again. You can apply an infinite number of times. If you do get a scholarship, however, you do have to exercise it, however. Otherwise, you're not eligible to get a further scholarship. So that's how the Access Scholarship works. There are also student scholarships if your university is a partner university of CFA Institute. And you can Google University Affiliation Program to see the list of partner schools, including those in Egypt. I think on that note, I'll make some space for other panelists. I'll be here to answer questions and be on the discussion in a minute. So thank you very much.
It's quite good to have this kind of insights about Egypt and where do Egyptians work in terms of CFA. If we can move to Peter, and he could share more insights about CFA program in terms of how people should study it and what they should expect.
Thank you so much. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us today. Very excited to be here. Again, Peter Olinto, if you've heard of Jack of all trades, I'm his cousin Pete. So I started out as a CPA, then I became an attorney, and then I became a CFA charter holder. And next, I just want to carry Rob's bags around as he travels around the world. But your motivation is step number one in being properly prepared for any of these exams. And Rob just did a great job. Look at all the opportunities that being a charter holder could provide you. But the one thing Rob didn't discuss is money. I don't know about you guys, but I like money. I follow money around. So I want you to do a little research. What would be the financial opportunity for you going forward if you were a CFA charter holder? So between the opportunities financially and with all the different positions you can hold, that in and of itself should get you motivated. Step two, the average number of hours to properly prepare for this exam. CPA, CFA, the charter, no topic in any of these exams is all that challenging. It's the volume of information that makes these exams so challenging, right? So you're not cramming for this. You need to spread it out over a reasonable period of time so you're learning and not merely memorizing. The CFA Institute, Rob, they usually talk about 300 hours, which is an average. I mean, if you were an A student in accounting and or financing or finance and you recent graduate and the information fresh in your mind, 300 hours might do it. But if you've been out of school a while, or you haven't had a lot of classes in accounting or certain classes in equity or debt or different topics, then you might be a little bit more than 300 hours. But let's say you're at that 300-hour mark. So you have a goal. Okay, when do you want to sit for the exam? Then you've got to properly prepare. So do you have 10 hours a week to study? Because if that's all you can give me, you're looking at probably closer to about 8 months to properly prepare. Conversely, if you can give me 20 hours a week, then you're at approximately 4 months, okay? So the average number of hours per week is going to be very important for you to decide when you put together your study plan. Number three, because of the volume of information, it is incredibly important that you see how we connect the dots. What I mean by that is, especially at level one, the first half of the curriculum are the tools you're going to use in the second half of the curriculum when deciding, hey, what should I pay for this particular asset? Is it undervalued, overvalued? Knowing the differences and advantages and disadvantages of different securities for your clients based upon their unique needs and circumstances. So you'll see a lot of the formulas that are introduced in quant, we'll see again when we get to portfolio management. A lot of the concepts we introduce in ethics, well, that's your ethical obligation to your client to know who they are, what their needs and circumstances are. So you're not studying topics in isolation. You're thinking big picture. Why am I learning this in the first half so I could apply that in the second half? Okay, the next step is cumulative reviews along the way are a must. If you're going to be studying content over 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months, you can't study something in week one and then not look at it for 3 or 4 months and think you're going to recall it. So I call it the 1/3 rule. 1/3 of the way through the curriculum, you're going to stop. And in your study plan that week, you're going to build in a cumulative review of the topics you've already covered. You'll repeat that process 2/3 of the way through. And then when you put together your study plan, you're learning nothing new at a minimum in the last 2 weeks of your preparation. The last 2 weeks Well, that's where you're going to do your final review. But the good news is you've been periodically reviewing, but then you want to do practice exams, mock exams, and exam conditions. Now, look, you're going to be sitting down. The whole process is going to be 4.5 hours plus. When was the last time you sat down 4 hours uninterrupted and didn't pick up your cell phone? Can you imagine failing this exam because you made silly mistakes in the last 15 minutes because you were mentally fatigued? We cannot and we will not have that happen. You need to build, it's a mental marathon. You need to build up your mental endurance. So what I suggest is on the weekends or whenever it is you have the most time, that's where you should be sitting down in 4-hour uninterrupted blocks so you could build up that mental endurance. Your next step is when you put together that study plan, look at the weight of the topics. And I need you to understand that certain topics may not be a review. If you've never seen that topic in school before, or if you got a C in that class, that's perfectly fine. But you're just going to have to allocate more time to review those topics where you're weaker. And then topics where you're stronger, hopefully you'll get through a little bit faster. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. So know that going in. I've yet to meet a candidate, and I don't think the CFA Institute, I don't think we've ever gotten a perfect score on any level of the exam. But regardless, the vast majority of people have their strengths and weaknesses. That's fine. Okay, this is not an IQ test because Lord knows if it was, I would have never passed. If we had a two-tailed distribution of the IQs on this call right now, I'm pretty certain my IQ would be in the left tail, and Rob would attest to that. But my work ethic is in the right tail. And that's the difference between success and failure. Make a serious commitment. Stick to your study plan. Talk to your significant other. Do you have a husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever your significant other is? Explain to them the hours that are involved in studying for each level of the exam. And that, hey, if you've only passed level 1, tell them, return the balloons, no cake yet. I got 2 more exams to go through. So they need to be patient in this process and support you. Now, if you're dating someone who's giving you a hard time, says, oh, you're boring, all you ever do is study, listen to me. What I want you to do is I want you to get rid of them now. Because after you get your CFA charter, chances are you're going to be doing so much better in life, you were going to upgrade anyway. Don't let anyone stand in between you and passing this exam. And if you don't have a significant other right now, I don't know what apps you have in Egypt, but stay off of things like Tinder because that'll only hinder your performance, okay? Make that commitment, believe in yourself, and remind yourself you can and you will do it. Slow and steady wins the race. Let's go! That's all I got.
Thank you so much. It was great to hear from you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I think I'm going to move to Osama, where I want to hear about his views on how Egyptian community and young generation look into CFA. What there are, people are afraid of some kind of stuff when it comes to CFA. Osama, go ahead, please.
Please, Mohab, ensure me that the connection is okay and you hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Yeah, okay. I try to speak in both languages, Arabic and English. Good evening, everybody. Now let me introduce. I am Dr. Osama Sami, CFA charter holder, CPA. In fact, I am a university prof most of the year with the young people. I hear their concerns every day. I know their doubts and what they don't say out loud. I'm also a professional coach. I have seen students start with fear and finish with confidence. Because I don't want you to think I'm speaking from theory. I only 4.5 months, and my full CFA journey took 2.5 years. Since then, I was able to guide my students to pass in an efficient and structured way, not by luck, but by building a smart system around them. Now, I want a very honest message. Most students in Egypt don't fear the CFA exam itself. As Peter Olento, my role model, it is not a difficult exam. It is the amount of information. Students in Egypt fear 3 things. They fear the cost, the difficult, and they fear failing. So let's talk about these 3 fears in a realistic way. Because once you deal with them, it becomes a path, not a nightmare. The first fear, CFA is too expensive. Yeah, the cost can feel heavy, especially if you are early in your career or still a student. But the CFA, as Rob said, understands this reality. That's why there are scholarships that can dramatically reduce the exam fees. And now I'll speak in Arabic. $400 لو انت قررت توفرهم خلال سنة هتحوش كل يوم $52 52 جنيه. هل انت مش عارف مستواك خلال كل يوم؟ لازم في الحتة دي اجي عربي جدا لان دي كل يوم في الكلام مع الطلبة. So it's the door that people who prepare and blame. Second fear, CFA is too difficult. And I actually smile when I hear this because I always tell my students something very direct. If it was easy, it wouldn't have this prestige. The CFA is globally for one reason. It is not respected because of marketing. It is respected because it's strong. The assessment is serious and the standards are high. So yes, it's difficult, but don't misunderstand the word difficult. Difficult does not mean impossible. Difficult statement, structure, and right guidance. And this is exactly where most, not because they are not smart. No one is smart. But because they study land, no accountability, no system, no practice discipline. So difficulty is not the enemy. Randomness is the enemy. If you build the system, CFA becomes very doable. And this is exactly why fighters here. Because finance coach, and this is not a marketing label, this is a serious state. The third fear my students have, what if I fail? This emotional fear. And I want to answer it in a way that it changes how you see this entire journey. Listen, boy, listen carefully. Even if you don't pass from you still win. Yeah, you still win. Because the knowledge you gain from the CFA, it changes the way you think. And in real life, this matters more than people think. Many candidates lose opportunity because they don't know the answer, but because the professional structure in their thinking. CFA gives you this structure, so do not let fear of failure stop you. Failure in CFA is not the end. Failure is the information. It is a feedback. It is a checkpoint. And if you have the right coaching environment like Finance UWorld, you come back strong. Practically speaking, at UWorld, I say this with honesty and respect. I owe a big part of CFA and CPA to my mentor, Peter Olento, and his way of teaching. And ever since that time, I had two goals. I want to become Peter Olento of the Arab region. And the second goal, I wanted finance coach to partner with UWorld because I wanted Egyptian students to have a platform that is popular, effective, a platform that supports understanding, not organization like the way Peter has. Now, let me shift my conversation to something bigger. We always in Egypt speak about CFA on a personal level. Career growth, better job, better salary, better opportunity. I want you to see two big dimensions, personal one and the national one all over the Egypt. On the personal dimension, CFA is not just a certificate. It is our passport for regional opportunities, especially in the Gulf. And anyone in Egypt who is realistic knows this. The markets around us care about this credential the most because CFA is a global language. CFA candidate or charter holder, you are speaking a language that HR and the banks understand on the spot immediately. It reduces uncertainty. It's the discipline. And there is also another Egypt right now needs the CFA talent because it is our economic intent and the direction. To attract foreign direct investment, investors need confidence. They need to know that when they enter our market, they will find analysts, bankers, professionals who understand the global finance standard. They want to system our ecosystem contains the people who can evaluate investment properly, communicate properly. CFA is one of the strongest signals of that capability. So when we produce more CFA candidates and the charter holder, we are not only improving individuals, we are upgrading the market itself and seeking capacity building. So when my students ask me, is there something better than the CFA content to study? From my point of view, in terms of depth, structure, real world relevance, it's very, very, very hard to beat. And that's why the CFA ability it has. Finally, let me bring everything together and give you the message student to leave with today. If you are watching this webinar and you are still unsure, I want you to stop thinking emotionally. Don't say, let me build a plan. Let me build a plan, because with the right plan, your fears become manageable. But the key point, you cannot do CFA alone with random studying. You need an environment, a guidance. You need people who understand what candidates face in Egypt and the Arab region. And that is why Finance Coach exists in this story, because Finance Coach is not only a teaching, but your learning partner. It is a bridge that brings global standard and local identity reality. Candidates are truly supported, coached, and pushed forward. And combining that with a serious learning platform like UWorld creates a powerful path. That is the formula. So my message to you is simple. Don't treat CFA as a dream you hope to achieve, but as a project you will execute. And remember, the journey itself will upgrade you. Thank you so much. I am honored to be here with you, Rob, my mentor, Peter Olento, and my brother, Mohab Hamd.
Thank you so much, Osama, for great insights again. Now, I think we are going to move to Q&A, and based on questions that we have received so far from the webinar, just give me 1 second to reflect the screen here. We're gonna talk more about different things. One of them is quite a good question that everyone asks. What kind of career path that CFA is going to support me? And should I go for investment, finance, or corporate credit, or whatever? So the beauty about CFA, from someone who worked in finance, corporate banking, investment, and now venture capital, it fits all. So when we talk about investment, we have 3 layers of jobs: investment world, corporate finance, and commercial banking. Investment world, so let's imagine a hypothetical story whereby a business owner who wants to retire and sell his business, he will go for an investment bank and hires the investment bank to be their investment banking sell-side advisor. The investment banking analyst here would go for financial analysis, understanding the market, understanding the industry of the company the client have, and doing a full investment memo to have a valuation range of X and Z. Then he would search for buyers. At the same time, the investment bank would also have a different arm, that is the buy-side advisory, where strategic buyers are always looking on finding good opportunities, good companies to invest in or to acquire. And the investment banking here is to find companies in specific industries within certain valuation range. Sometimes strategic buyers and sellers do not agree. Then we go to financial buyers. By financial buyers, we talk more about private equity firms and private equity investment analysts. That's a third rule of investment within investment field that's suitable to CFA. So the private equity analyst would invest in much higher investment horizon. So we're talking about 3 to 5 years at minimum, up to 10 to 12 years private investment horizon, throughout having in-depth financial analysis, in-depth financial modeling, and a clear exit strategy. So the role of an investment analyst within private equity firms to do, again, same things, but at a wider scope, with a clear path to exit, and sometimes exit go through IPO. So it comes for a fourth point, which is financial brokerage firms, where the investment bank hired by the private equity company goes to financial brokerage companies and ask equity research analysts that's the fifth job, to do financial reports about the company. The equity research analyst is mainly dedicated in certain sectors. So there's commercial, there's banking and real estate analysts, there are building materials analysts, etc. They do companies, they do financial analysis for companies and stocks. They compare stocks to stock prices to intrinsic value and other companies within the sector itself, and submit their reports to asset management firms, which is the last part in the investment field, which is hiring asset managers and investment analysts, equity research analysts from a buy-side perspective, whose job would be likely to invest according to client needs, client risk and appetite, and objectives and goals. That's the first dimension that investment is related to CFA. Then we would go for commercial or corporate finance. Corporate finance, we talk about companies itself. Beyond the accounting, there are a lot of corporate finance needs. So for example, there are financial reporting unit whereby financial analysts are more responsible into doing financial reports to their management and board. They do monthly financial statements analysis, they do quarter reports and annual reports. They do budget versus actual reports, they do comparison between the company versus its peers within the market, etc. And there are different type of people who are working in investment within the organization themselves are investment analysts to work on expansion. Which product should we expand into? Which market should we target? What about revenue enhancement strategies, cost optimization, etc.? And all of these within the finance or corporate finance within organizations. When companies try to expand, they usually go to commercial banks for borrowing. Commercial banks here, we talk more about SMEs, corporate credit analysts, large corporate credit analysts who do financial analysis from a different point of view, from a lender perspective. They check whether the company is eligible for debt. How are they gonna pay their debt? Is the company is eligible based on the risk criteria of the company of the bank or not? So the beauty about CFA, its curriculum fits everything. So when we talk about financial statement analysis, about corporate finance, about equity, portfolio management, and ethics, they fit every aspect in investment field, corporate finance, and commercial banking. That's the area I wanted to highlight. And I think I'm gonna go to my audience now with few questions we received from registered people in webinar. So Rob, please, if you would like to answer how CFA curriculum is being evolved when it comes to AI and fintech evolution, and how is that going to be occupied when CFA level 1, level 2, and level 3?
Sure, thanks for that question. It's a question we certainly get a fair amount. It is the impact of AI on the CFA program. We did put our first reading into the CFA program about AI in the late part of last decade, and we did enhance the content subsequently as well. Look, the reality is, if you want to master AI, we are not the provider. We're not going to talk about all the latest use cases because the toolkit's moving really, really fast. So that's an area we've chosen not to play much in, although we do teach you Python basics in the practical skills modules. However, I think people who are in the AI industry realize the foundation of AI is statistics, quite simply. You have to have a really strong grasp of statistics in order to understand AI, in particular regression and matrix multiplication and so on. And so that foundation serves you extremely well in order to understand the actual basics and principles of AI. As we look forwards, it's certainly an area in the curriculum we're intending to expand significantly. So watch this space.
Thank you so much. So we have another question. Let's go for Peter. So in terms of reality in the market itself, how someone should be prepared in terms of studying and balancing between work life and studying for CFA with that amount of time?
Yeah, so that's where that study plan, that step one comes in, a realistic plan on the number of hours you can study per week. No matter how busy you are, you could spread this simply over a longer period of time, right? So as I mentioned, with a benchmark of about 10 hours a week, you're looking at about doing this in 8 months, which is fine. Obviously, if you could give more time than that, then you can shorten that. But what I don't like to see candidates do is to try to cram. Because the second you try to cram and memorize, that's where people are very disappointed with their results exam day. Because ironically, you would think it's very math intensive, and it is. But more than half the time, actually, you're not picking up your calculator. We're not just looking to have you, calculate the current ratio. That doesn't prove all that much. We want to make sure you understand the ratio. We want to make sure what that company, when you compare it to itself over time, are they improving? Is there risk of distress deteriorating? How does this company look relative to the standard in the industry? So that takes patience. That level of knowledge is not just cranking out as many questions as you can. The truth is, lots of candidates are incorrectly preparing by trying to equate volume of questions worked with preparedness exam day. If you're not learning from your mistakes, then all those questions you're working are not going to serve the purpose intended, which is to teach you the content, reinforce the content. So you need to, sometimes less is more. When you're working high quality questions, if you get it right, did you get it right for the right reason? If you got it right, but that individual level 1 multiple choice took you 10 minutes, there's got to be a way to do that in a much shorter period of time. In addition, when you really want to understand something, I know this generation likes to type, but there's lots of objective research out there that the old-fashioned pen to the paper, when you write a formula, when you write a rule down, that process of writing transfers that information from that short-term to that long-term memory. So the more senses you engage when you study, the more likely it is you're going to understand and be able to recall that information exam day. So watching and reading is okay, but it's like if you hired me to be your fitness coach and then we go to the gym together and you watch me on the treadmill, that's not going to do much for your cardiovascular health. You got to get on your own treadmill. So I want you to, of course, you're going to watch and read, but I need you to write it and occasionally speak it. If you're dating someone and if you want to see, is this person possibly your soulmate? I want you to explain to them step by step what a credit default swap is. Now, if that person is still there at the end of that dinner, either they have serious psychological issues that you should run, or you found your soulmate, okay? So you want to write it, you speak it. Slow and steady wins the race. I'd rather have you spread this out over a longer period of time than cram. And do me a favor, folks. Barely passing level 1 is not what we're looking at. I'd rather have you fail and repeat level 1 and master it. Because level 2 is kind of like level 1 on steroids. If you have a poor foundation at level 1, you're very likely to get stuck at level 2. So slow and steady. You can and you will do it. This is not rocket science, except for the Black-Scholes option pricing model. But outside of that, the vast majority of this curriculum, it just takes the proper amount of time and commitment. Learn from your mistakes. If you get something wrong, write it down so you don't repeat the mistake going forward.
Great answer as usual. Thank you so much. I think we have another question that could be directed to Osama. A question that goes like, I'm studying in Faculty of Commerce at Arabic section, but I'm not fluent in English. Should I start CFA now or not, and why?
Sorry, can you repeat that again, Mohab? Because
sure.
The connection.
So we have a question. Yeah, sure. So a question from someone studying in Faculty of Finance. He is not fluent in English, and he wants to understand whether he should enhance his English skills first before studying CFA, or he could directly start CFA.
Let me explain this in Arabic, because the one who asks it maybe want that in Arabic. Frankly speaking, انت اكتر حد هتقدر تحكم على نفسك هل انت جاهز انك تدخل. دايما خريج انجلش سيكشن انا دايما بقول له حاجه واحده: انت مش محتاج اي اعداد قبل السي اف اي. ولو حد قال لك انك محتاج اعداد قبل السي اف اي بشهاده ثانيه وانت خريج انجلش سيكشن، فهو مش صح. ده مبدئيا. ودايما عندي القناعه دي. انا خريج ادبي ومدارس عربي ليفلات من اول. بالنسبه لو انت خريج انجلش سيكشن الموضوع منتهي، انت مش محتاج اي اعداد. اي حد يقول لك كده ده مش صح. لو خريج تجاره عربي I think انك محتاج الاول تدخل على اليوتيوب تسرش عن سامبل فيديوهات شرح السي اف اي وتجرب تقعد قصادها بتركيز. هل لقيت نفسك قدرت تمشي معاها بنسبة 50%، 40%؟ يبقى 40%، يبقى هو ده طريقك وادخل وعافر فيه وجرب مرة والتانية. لقيت ان اقل من 40%، يبقى في اللحظة دي مش طريقك دلوقتي. بس ده ما يخلكش تتنازل عن ان دايما من وجهة نظري CFA from my point of view هي الهدف الاعظم والهدف الاخير. لو ابتديت وحققته فمش محتاج، دايما مقتنع بكده، ده تكفي جدا عن اي حاجه. هتاجل الهدف لو تجاره عرضك مش فاهم اليوتيوب مؤقتا ينتهي. وقتها ممكن تدور على على حاجه تسهلك الانجليش بتاع الفاينانس. ممكن تتعلم من شخص كورس بيشرح بالعربي على ايش، واي ثينك في ناس كتير كده. ممكن تلاقي ويز كتير تحكم على ده بس، وعلى البرايفت في اي وقت.
فل جدا. Thank you so much, Osama. So I think we have one final question. We can direct it to Rob. The question goes like this. Someone who just graduated from finance, is it better to start CFA now, or he should wait till he finds a job in financial analysis or investment, then start CFA?
That's an easy one. You should start now because it's going to help you get the job in finance. I will tell you a couple of anecdotes which are quite telling though. So back in the 1950s and 1960s, NASA used to automatically fire people on their 23rd birthday when they were a so-called calculator. That's a human calculator doing all the real rocket science of getting the mission to the moon and back safely, and Gemini missions and so on. And the reason they did that is NASA figured out that the young brain is really good at mathematics, and it's all downhill from the age of 23. So Peter and myself, sorry, we're kind of over the hill at this point on the mathematics dexterity. And I think that's quite a good point. When we look at the actual pass rate data, what we find is the undergrad students actually have the highest pass rate of any cohort. Now, I think I'm not going to jump to conclusions as to why that is. Some hypotheses might be you have fewer obligations in life, you're still in study mode, you've got a strong incentive to pass because it's going to help you get a job, and so on and so on. I'm not just saying it's mathematics, but definitely you're in a statistically better bucket the earlier you start doing the CFA program. But then, of course, it have many other benefits. It'll actually help you get that job you want to get. So yeah, I think waiting doesn't make really much or any sense.
Thank you so much. So if
Mohab, could I ask Rob a question? Would you mind?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
So Rob, when you took the CFA exam in 1950, do you remember what the passing rate was in 1950 when you took it?
So in 1963, the first time we actually started with level 3, I want to say the pass rate was 93% or thereabouts, and it's drifted down to just around the 50s right now. So it's actually come down and down and down since the 1960s. But I think the key reason for that has been the broadening of the audience of people doing the CFA program, maybe beyond because remember that you used to have to be age 30 to take the CFA exam back in the early 1960s. So it was a real class of rock stars who were all in the whole Benjamin Graham and Orbit and so on. So yeah, it was much higher back at the start of the CFA program compared to today.
So 1963, you got your charter, Rob?
I got my charter. I passed level 3 in 2002. Got my charter 2003.
So my students like to kid me. Obviously, when I took the CPA CFA, it was not a computer-based exam. So they asked me if there was a stone tablet and a chisel. That's how I had to mark my paper. So I had to kid you, Rob. I'm sorry.
Well, there used to be slide rules actually before the calculator. There was some point when we started allowing calculators in. We didn't used to allow them in. Kind of a little bit of archaeology of the CFA program there.
Had they invented the calculator when you sat for the exam? Was it invented?
Now, I do use the HP12C, and I recommend people do the Texas Instruments because I think it's a bit more intuitive, but I love reverse Polish notation. It's addictive, right? But I think I'm a dinosaur by telling you which calculator I still use today.
I'm HP12C. Let's go.
Of course, and so is James Gorman, the former CEO of Morgan Stanley.
Wonderful. Sorry, Mohab. I haven't taken my medication today. I'm talking. I'll be quiet now.
No worries, no worries. So at the end, if we can conclude with one message to young students now doing or gonna start to do CFA, what message you're gonna give to them? And that's for everyone, Peter, Rob, and Usam.
Okay, I guess I'll start. Yeah, I like the conversation we just had about when you should sit for the exam. I think that, a lot of people like to compare getting the charter with an MBA. I mean, obviously, if you get an MBA from a top 10 school, it sells itself. But for the vast majority of the rest of us who have not had the opportunity to go to a Harvard or a Wharton or Chicago, that charter is not something you can just enroll in an online course and get. It shows, obviously, commitment, a certain level of ability, ethics. And I definitely think if you are a relatively young person still in their 20s, this will pay you back the rest of your life, a relatively short period of time to devote 2-3 years, whatever it takes, 4 years. But then to have a benefit for 40 plus years for the rest of your career, it is a no-brainer. Invest in yourself, both financially and in terms of time, and it will pay you back. Good luck, my friends.
Thank you so much. Rob?
Yeah, I guess I can add on. I agree with everything Peter said. To say something different. So I'm going to the Great Egyptian Museum tomorrow here in Cairo. Very much looking forward to that. And it's pretty evident to me. I travel the world. I did 24 business trips last year. I have the privilege of seeing all the regions and many of our markets. And the Middle East is a very special place right now. It is the economy is really turning a corner, recovering from the pandemic, and in some cases booming in many places. And I think the prospects look very bright, in particular for Egypt. And I think as Egypt develops, we see this in many other countries. What's going to be really important is foreign direct investment. And so when I was in Africa in July, talking to many people in many different countries, one of the big benefits, in fact, was talking to international investors to get financing into those countries. And so when you have the CFA charter, you're much better equipped to have those investment meetings with folks who may come in from places like New York and London. And so I think if you want to be part of Egypt's story, Egypt's really exciting future, the CFA charter is going to really equip you to really help the country develop.
Thank you so much. Sam, would you like to give a message? But I think you can do it in Arabic.
Yeah, I think I need to speak in Arabic. بصوا انا مش حابب ان انا اخليها منظمه. انا حابب اتكلم معاكم. وانا عارف ان معظم اللي حاضرين يا الستودنت بتوعي يا ناس نجحوا في السي اف اي يا ناس لسه جوه الحرب دي. اللي انا حابب اقوله لك بشكل غير منظم ان لو كان الموضوع بالذكاء انا ما كانش اتحط جنبي ولا شهاده. انا خريج ادبي مدارس عربي. ابتديت في الطريق ده بصدفه، ويمكن بقولها للناس برايفت، بس ده الوقت انا اقولها قصاد ناس كتير قوي بتتفرج. انا السي اف اي بالنسبه لي هي اللي رجعت لي حياتي تاني، ودخولي في السي اف اي كان بسبب ان جالي مرض نادر وما كنت حاجه تلهيني او حاجه تساعدني الاقي بيربس اوف لايف، ولقيت البيربس ليفل ورا ليفل ورا ليفل. حسيت ان انا حياتي بتتمحور حواليها لحد ما خلصتها، وابتديت دلوقتي احس مع كل طالب جديد بينجح في السي اف اي ان انا بعيش من تاني. يمكن ده الحلم دلوقتي اللي انا عايش عشانه، ان انا ابروديوس as much as I can. This will be my legacy ان شاء الله. حاجه تانية، انا عارف ان احنا جايين من خلفيات مختلفه وجايين من لغات مختلفه، بس صدقني والله العظيم ده ذكاء ولا كيمياء. هي مشكلتها في التعود وان نخصص وقت محدد. لو البروبلم بتاعتك في اللغه غيرها، ما انا مدارس عربي. البروبلم بتاعتك في انك تحط ديسيبلين لنفسك، حطه. اتعلم تقعد من غير موبايلك. والله اللي انت بتقعد تتكلموا على الموبايل ما هينفعوك جنب فكره انك باست ليفل 1 ثم باست ليفل 2 ثم باست ليفل 3. لازم تتعلم تنظم وقتك ما بين عيلتك وما بين الهدف ده، لان انا ليفلين 3 من الشهاده هيقول دي لو رجع بيا لعمري اختار حاجه واحده اعملها، فهو ان انا اخد سي في. ولو في حاجه غيرت حياتي فصدقني الموضوع وورثي جدا ويستحق جدا انك تنفست التايم والماني. ولو مش معاك الماني، المنحه ب $400، يعني دولار في اليوم على سنه، يعني 50 جنيه. دايما قسم اهداف كبيره لاهداف صغيره، هتحس انها ممكن. نفس الفكره في الكريكولم، الطلبه بتتخض انها 10 مواد يا جماعه، باستثناء الفيكسد انكم، يعني ال9 مواد التانيين دوبل جدا. قسمهم تاتا وهنقعد نراجعهم. ياما ناس نجحوا هم تجاره عربي، وزمان كل الشارتر هولدرز في السن، وما كانش فيه زمان تجاره انجليش اصلا. فكره ان انت عمال تدور على شهادات اسهل عشان خايف، طب وبعدين؟ ده مش الحل. the most prominent في مجال الفاينانس هي السي اف اي، ومفيش منافس لهم، مفيش حاجه جنبها بتتحط كمنافس في مجال الفاينانس. فصدقني هو ده الهدف اللي يستحق انك تنفست في حياتك سنتين. وما تقوليش عندك ضغط شغل، لان الشغل نفسه اللي انت بتفضله على ان انت تاخد الشهاده، هو ده الشغل اللي هيستبدلك اول ما تقع، ويمكن يبقى ده الشغل اللي هيستبدلك لو ما خدتش الشهاده اصلا. رسالتي نفسك ثم نفسك ثم نفسك. اهتم بالشهاده جدا، لان هي دي المجال، هي دي عنق الزجاجه. سواء انت عايز تكبر جوه البلد وتوصل لسالاريز تحفه، سواء ده عايز تروح تلاقي وظيفه يونيك في مكان تاني. بس دايما بقول فيل فري انك تبعت لي مسجز براحتك على الماسنجر. انا دايما برد على اللي جالي الاخر الاول، فلو انا ما ردتش عليك ابعت تاني عشان تطلع فوق. ده بيبقى غصب عني، لان انا اللي برد بنفسي على كل الرسائل. اتمنى من قلبي كل حد جوه اللايف ده يكون في يوم من الايام قريب جدا تشارتر هولدر ويفتكرني بالخير. باي.
Thank you so much, Osama, and thank you everyone for great insights about CFA. It's always a pleasure to spread awareness about investment and CFA. It's always a pleasure to support young generation, especially in Egypt and across MENA region, through our finance courses and your great expertise. And thank you so much, Rob, for being here today. And we hope we can see you more in Egypt, inshallah. Thank you, everyone.
حابب اضيف كتيره بس قبل ما
Thank you.
ده مهاب انك اديتني، ف اي هوب ان كونكشن وانك تكون سامعني. ده شكرا عندي انك اديتني كل الاوبورتيونيتيز دي.
الله يكرمك. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.